All right, there it goes. Hey guys, good Tuesday morning, or like I like to call it date night. Today is Tuesday, date night, and it is snowed again down in Utah County. We had a nice little thunderstorm last night, a snow thunderstorm, which was interesting. I don't think I've seen many or heard many of those. But it is a cold winter morning here in Utah, and so it's a good day to do a little live stream. And so I'm doing this little live stream because we are starting to gear up again into production season in Utah. We have production companies coming in from out of state. They're getting very excited about hiring Utah locals. They are trying to start making those connections and ultimately get the deals started. Now, I know that we get excited after going through a little bit of a drought during the winter that we're willing just to jump onto every single project that comes our way. I'm guilty of doing the exact same thing, but we have to be careful about what we do and protect ourselves as a business. And so what I'm going to talk about during this live stream is something that's just going to kind of scratch the surface on something that's bigger, on how production companies work. And if you're an actor, how to get those auditions for production companies, which by the way is happening. I'm going to move this over here so you guys can see it. There you go. If you go over to the UtahFilmFestival.com, we have an event coming up. Click on Get Tickets, and it'll take you over here to a panel on how to run a production company and another panel on commercial versus narrative film auditions. We have some bigwigs and local folks coming in that are going to talk to you about both how to run your production company, and this will include things like deal memos and contracts. And then for actors who are just interested in how do you get involved in the different narrative films or the commercials, we're going to have producers sticking around specifically talking about this for actors. So you don't want to miss that part. It's going to be a lot of fun for those who are interested in understanding the business side of filmmaking and commercial work and all the good things. So be sure to come. It's this Saturday. Go to UtahFilmFestival.com or the UtahFilmFestival.com. Click on get tickets at the top. You'll get more information. But that's not all I'm doing on this live stream. I'm not just promoting the event on Saturday. I'm actually going to walk you through the deal memo. And we're going to talk about what is happening in the deal memo that you need to be aware of so that you don't get stuck either working for free, which super sucks, by the way. No one wants to work for free. Well, maybe you want to work for free if you've never done it before and you just want to see if you like it. But most of the time, we don't want to work for free. Okay, we want to work and get compensated so that we can still eat. I like bacon and I need to be able to buy bacon. To buy bacon, I need money. So I need to make sure I'm going to get paid for the deal memos. The deal memos are the things that are going to make sure that I get paid for doing the work that I'm contracted to do. Now, first thing I want to be clear about is what a deal memo is and what it is not. A deal memo is a clear understanding between the production and the independent contractor, whether you're a crew or a cast member, as to what's expected by the production and what you're going to do, how they're going to pay you, when they're going to pay you, how's the work going to be used, and so on. What it is not is an end-all document. Okay, so there's going to be other documents that are going to come along with it. They're going to get an image release. You might get a separate contract. You might get an extension. You might get an addendum. There's a lot of other paperwork that comes along with it. This is the first bit of paperwork you're going to get as an independent contractor working on any of these projects. Okay, so this is you not being contracted as a full-time employee, to be clear. This is not you being contracted as a full-time employee. This is as an independent contractor. Okay, now it's been a minute since I've done a live stream, so you're gonna have to bear with me if I don't do this correctly. Let's see if I can move over here. Oh, I did it correctly, yay! Okay, so walking through what the deal memo is, what does it look like? Right here, we have the production title. So we're gonna call our production title Warren's Awesome Movie. Because that's how we're just going to name everything here. Now, I'm not going to fill in all these things because it would take forever and it'd be very boring to watch. But we're going to say the movie is called Warren's Awesome Movie. And I would put in the name of my production company and then the name of the actor. I'm going to say I'm hiring Kenna Denali because I hired her for Water Babies. I hired Kenna Denali for Water Babies. I put in Kenna's name here. I put today's date, the address, and this is the production company's address and the production company's phone number, which will make sense in a minute. Next is the information I need for tax information. So either if we're billing you or if we're paying you directly, sometimes it's going to be a social security number. Otherwise, if you have a business ID or a federal ID number, you're going to put that in here. You don't put in both. You just put in one or the other. It's easy. Then we're going to decide where you're going to live, right? Your position or your department. Now, this could also say your character name. And so if you have a character name, it's going to be placed right here. If it's a position or department, this is more for a crew right here, you would put in like gaffer or production assistant or production designer or production coordinator, which is what I do a lot of. An approximate start date, let's say you had the conversation with the producer and they want you to start on March 17th. Okay, well then approximate start date would be March 17th. It's not when you guys had the initial conversation. It's when they actually expect you to start working. Now this is approximate because things happen, dates change, acts of God, pandemics, that sort of stuff, right? Schedules get mixed up. So approximate start is flexible, but it's only flexible from the production's point of view, not yours. So just to be clear, emergency contact, if something happens to you while you're on set, put in this information. And then any additional terms and provisions. I love this section here. I don't want you guys just to skip over it. If you guys have terms that are not going to be in the deal memo that you guys discussed over the phone, make sure you put it in here. Maybe the terms was that you get to have an assistant, or that you're going to have your own private trailer, or that you're going to have green M&Ms in a bowl every time you're there. Well, then if you guys already agreed on that, you're going to make sure these are in your additional terms and provisions. Now you have your prep rate, your production rate, and your wrap rate. These are typically done as day rates. I'm going to see if I can zoom in there a little bit. Oh, I like that. That's a bit better, because you guys probably watch this on your phone. So as a prep rate, how much are you going to get paid for anything that starts before principal photography? How much are you going to get paid during the production? And then how much you're going to get paid on the wrap. Now, sometimes these are all the same number. So if you're getting paid $300 a day, then maybe your production rate's $300 a day, prep rate and wrap rate's the same. Another thing that might be added into your deal memo is travel rate. So if you're traveling from California and you're traveling to Utah, you will get paid a travel rate because you're not expected to work that day, but you had to take the day off to move somewhere. So that would be added into here as well. If you're local, travel rate usually doesn't apply. So just keep that in mind. A kit rental. Matt Julander has a really sweet van that has all sorts of grip gear in there and all sorts of fun little things. In that, I would add in a kit rental fee if the van is considered a kit for him. Hair and makeup, if they have a kit rental fee. Camera department, if they have a kit rental fee. Sound, if they have a kit rental fee. You're going to put it all in here. Make sure that all your information is clearly identified from the beginning on what you guys are agreeing to on your pay rate, because this is your live or die moment, okay? This is the thing that will hold up in a courtroom if you're not getting paid this. So make sure that is correct. Okay, now we're going to scroll down a little bit further. I'm going to pull this back a bit because I can't see what happened to all my cool... Come on now. I'm going to scroll down. Okay, here we go. Then you have all the legalese. I'm going to see if I can't make this a little bit smaller here. Oh, maybe. Did I just delete it all? Sure hope I didn't. Oh, there it is. Come on. Come on now. You got to love technical problems when they kick in like this. Okay. I'm going to try kicking that out and kicking it back in. But let me just get to this point. This is the point I'm trying to make. While I'm getting this thing off, I'll move the screen around. The document that you're dealing with here, oh yeah, now it pops up over here. The document that you're dealing with here is technically a legal document. So if you had a problem that the production company wasn't paying you the way you agreed to originally, you go back to your deal memo and you say, look, this is what they agreed to. This is what I agreed to. This was the agreement. And so we want to have that agreement honored. I did what I was supposed to do. The production has to hold up to their end to what they're supposed to do. Okay, so let me see if I can't pull this thing up one more time. It's starting to respond again. Okay, here we go. Yeah, right. I will work for bacon. I will work for bacon, though, by the way. Okay. All right, there we go. So when we're talking about a couple different things, so we have the different roles are defined. The compensation's defined. You're going to make sure that this is here. Again, the producer's going to pay you this much money. Okay. The IC is, if you see an IC in your deal memo, that means you're an independent contractor. And so that we see that all the time. This one's specifically for a commercial contract. And so the usage and licensing will be a little different for a commercial contract than you will have for like a feature film. So on a usage and agreement, so these are the things that says actor agrees to provide the producer with all information so that you can be paid. Independent contractor agrees to participate in the production. Producer agrees to furnish the independent contractor with an actual day of shooting. All the good things. Okay. Now, when we go into the usage and license, this is an interesting part for commercials. So commercials get paid a little bit differently than, say, like a short film. On a licensing agreement, you're going to say, this is how we're going to use, like you're giving permission to use this as a commercial. And then it goes into more detail. Here's the rights for the commercial and for the content. It can be used this way. It cannot be used that way. So for example, if the production company wants to license this content that they've shot with you, they paid you a day rate to shoot for the day, and now they want to come up with an agreement for how much they want to pay you to show what they shot, that's two different things for an actor. For a crew member, it doesn't matter. You were hired on the day to do the work. You get paid your day rate. That's all you're going to see. I have never seen residuals for crew members. Maybe it's just that I've never had residuals as a crew member. But you don't get residuals as a crew member. Now, actors are different because it's their face on the screen. Because their face is there, their face is being used to sell a product for X amount of years. And so what an agent will do is they'll say, hey, we are giving you a usage of their image for 2 years. So it's pretty much like leasing a car, right? You get to see their image on your commercial for 2 years. After that, you cannot use this as an ad anymore, unless we come back and we agree on a new rate, which means you're going to pay again for more usage. And then you're going to, or the actor will say, no, I've got another contract that's coming up with another company, and I can't have a new commercial, or that old commercial out because of the new deal I've negotiated. So that's why that exists. So that an actor is not locked into one project forever and they can't do anything else because it's their face. So that's why it is the way that is. For those that are wondering why an actor may get residuals versus a crew member, because we don't see the crew member's face attached to that commercial. Nobody knows who the gaffer or the PA or the cinematographer or the director were on a commercial. They don't care. What they care about is who is that person that they're seeing. We know who Flo is on the Allstate commercials, right? Or whatever that commercial is. We know who Mayhem is in those commercials. That's why actors are paid differently. Okay, so moving on past that point, let's bring it down to the term. The term, when we're talking about the term, I'm going to just pull this back up so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So when we're talking about the term is performance pursuant to the agreement, blah, 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 blah. So the term is how long you have something for. So when I talked about you have it for 2 years, that's where the term's going to come in. Is this a union or a non-union production? If it's a non-union production, you're not paying things like a pension and you're not paying residuals. And there's a whole slew of things that you're not obligated to as not being a signatory to SAG-AFTRA, okay? Sometimes that makes sense. Sometimes that does not make sense to go non-union. It depends on the production, and every production's different. I don't want it ever to sound like I'm anti-union because there's a right time and a wrong time to do a union shoot. And sometimes it just makes sense to do it all union. And so you should. A lot of times that's with the cast that you really want for that production. It makes sense to go union. So you should. Number 6 is your actor's likeness. Again, this is their face. This is their voice. This is their body shape. This is all of that is part of the actor's likeness. Health and safety. This has been here a long time, but we're seeing being paid to a lot more attention being paid to it now. There was also a lot of COVID protocols that were put in line 7, but pay attention to that. I think this is kind of a nice little paragraph. This one, producer will use the best efforts to ensure actors' health, safety, and welfare during the commercial shoot, although the parties acknowledge there are risks in all productions and agree to take personal precautions to remain safe and healthy. I think that's a really good all-encompassing statement, but sometimes you may want to have more precise things. If you don't feel comfortable doing stunts like running, walking quickly, sitting in a wheelchair, any of those things that you may feel uncomfortable with, this is kind of an all-encompassing statement, but you can get more refined on that deal memo and ask for that to be put in. If you know that there's going to be a stunt scene in there where you have to ride a horse and you don't feel comfortable riding a horse, and you had the discussion and the producer's like, yeah, no problem, you don't have to ride a horse, then make sure it's in the deal memo. Okay, ownership, this is where the actor acknowledges that the producer owns the final product. We talked about food. Food's not really that big of a deal if you're dealing with SAG because it's already built into the signatory agreement. So that's not a big issue, but food is helpful for those who are doing a non-union production. 10 is the actor address contract information. You need to have that on there. If the production can't get a hold of you, then that's just amateur hour. The exhibition of the commercial, this is going to talk about, they were given the rights to the production company to exhibit this commercial, meaning that they could put it in broadcast. And that falls back under the usage of how this is going to be used. Is it going to be used for social media, television, print, all the things. So make sure that exhibition of the commercial is clearly understood. When you see that with a feature film, though, it's going to say it can use it everywhere and anywhere, and that's pretty normal. Your actor release, again, this is saying, yes, I read everything. I understand that things could be changed in the production. It's called visual effects. Read your document. It's important. All productions should have insurance. If they don't have insurance, run. They should all have insurance. Even if it's a low budget production, every production needs to have insurance. This helps in case somebody backs into your car while you're on set and you were on set working and you want to get your car repaired. Well, the production has production insurance for auto, which they should, then that would cover that as well. And then just the general legalese that says if there's any arbitration that needs to happen, if there's any dispute, this is where you would go take care of it. And because this is all in Salt Lake, we say we're just going to deal with all the legal stuff in Salt Lake. And then you come down here to the bottom. This is where you actually say, yes, I agree. And you put in your name, your address, your email, your phone number. And then here, this is when I was doing it with Manly Bands. I would do the same thing, saying, yes, I agree with this as well. Both parties send the signed copies to each other. You could do this through DocuSign or on Adobe. Both ways work, and then all parties know what's going on. Now, remember, a deal memo is meant to be a great way to communicate and have a clear understanding between you, the actor or crew member, and the production itself. We're not looking to try to entrap anybody or anything like that. So understanding what your rights are, what's expected, that's all vital. Now, one of the things I would add to a deal memo if I was you, if it's not there, are the terms on how you're going to get paid. Be clear that I'm expecting to get paid at the end of the day, end of the week, in 2 weeks, net 30, net 45 if you are doing that for some reason. But be clear on your deal memo how you're going to get paid. If you don't know that in the deal memo, then get clarification and get it added to the deal memo. If the production company doesn't know how they're going to pay you, red flag, red flag. Don't work for the company if they don't know how they're going to pay you, because you won't get paid. Okay? Don't work for somebody who doesn't understand how they're going to pay you. Okay. I feel like I've been on my high horse for a little bit here, but hopefully understanding what a deal memo is will ultimately protect you as independent contractor, actor, or crew, and also help a production company so that everybody has a clear understanding of what's expected, what's allowed, what isn't. And when they get to set, everyone is prepared. Everyone's prepared to do their job. And then when you wrap, everyone is prepared to get paid and understands how they're going to be paid. So if you want to find out more about working with production companies or auditioning with production companies, let me show you guys one more time where I want you to go. This is such good information, and I'm surprised when people don't hear about this, because we have a really tight-knit community here that is so good about spreading the word on really neat things happening. So please spread the word to your fellow crew members, your fellow actors that are starting to work, to get on productions, because we are starting to gear up again, about deal memos and these classes that are coming up. And they're like only $10 each. They're super cheap. Let me pull it up here one more time. Boom, there you go. Go to the UtahFilmFestival.com. You're going to come up here and click on Get Tickets. It's going to take you here. You can either go to the panel on how to run a production company, which I think everyone should go to. I think actors should attend this as well. That way you have an idea of what they're doing. And then stick around for the panel on auditions and acting in commercial and narrative films from the production company's perspective. And so the people who are going to be here, by the way, are decision makers. These are people that are casting for projects. Yes, make sure it says net 30. I agree. Net 30 is kind of the standard for corporate work. Net 30 is definitely the standard for corporate work. Net 45 is kind of redonkulous, but there is at least one company in Utah that's doing a net 45. And so that's why I want to make sure I clearly point that out, that it exists. And if you don't know what's going on, it's because you're not paying attention to your deal memo. All right, let's see here if we have any other comments or questions. I'm going through the different platforms that we're on. Usually on films, it's weekly or bi-weekly. Okay, that is a great question. Every film I work on, we get paid weekly. That doesn't mean every production does it, but typically it's weekly. The exception to the case may be your principal actors. A lot of time we will pay half of the actor's fee up front before they even begin, and then the other half halfway through production. And so the principal actors would get paid before the production even wraps. So that's how we've done it on a lot of my films. As a day player or a local crew or local cast, you're usually going to get paid the last day of the week, if that makes sense. If you don't get paid the last day of the week, it's usually the first day of the next production week. So if you started on Monday and you're going through Saturday, if you don't get paid on Saturday, you should be paid on Monday. At least that's on the productions that I've done, that's how we pay. If you're working for a company that works with, has a regular payroll, then it will go out with their regular payroll. So if they get paid every 2 weeks, then you're looking at bi-weekly. So that needs to be clear on your deal memo as well, just so you're aware of it. A lot of people don't care when they get paid, as long as they know when they get paid. No one wants to be sitting around and think someone forgot to write them a check, because that happens too. With turnover and things like that. Well, I'm just going to hit the microphone. With turnover at companies, sometimes those invoices get misplaced because you'll send it to an email that no longer exists and it doesn't get to their accounts payable department. So make sure in your deal memo it clearly says how you're going to get paid, when you're going to get paid, and how much you're going to get paid. All right. Let's see here. What other questions might we have here? I have so many that are coming in through these different places lately. This is great. Uh-huh. Oh, this one was an interesting thing that came up the other day. So there was a commercial shoot that came up, and the production company came from Georgia. And the production company comes in, and they were interviewing, I think, 10 different people. When they finished interviewing all the different people, they asked the same questions that every production company does. What's your availability? What's your rate? What's your experience? They asked for references. And then the production company did something that was a little confusing, or the producer, not the production company. The producer did something that was confusing to all the people they interviewed. What they did was they agreed with every single person that they interviewed. They said, that's a fair rate. Or they would say, those are good terms. Now, the person that they were looking at hiring there, like all 10 of them thought they had the job. All 10 of them, based off the conversation they had with that producer, believed that they were committed now for that. I think it was like a 3-day shoot. It was a 3-day shoot to go work on that. And all 10 of these crew members thought they were having the same job. And ultimately, it was only going to be one person. They were all under the same assumption but nobody had a deal memo except for that one person. So again, don't plan your entire production schedule around a conversation you had over the phone. If you don't have a deal memo in hand, no, it's not 100% yet, okay? Even with a deal memo in hand, know that acts of God can happen and that the production might be canceled. They may lose all their funding and then the production goes to a halt. That's happened. Even with the very best of intentions, that has happened. But without a deal memo and you're working already and it's already been agreed upon that you're going to start doing the work, at least with a deal memo, you could be compensated for the work that was agreed upon. Without a deal memo, you're up a creek. You don't have a leg to stand on. Yes, it's not a done deal till you have a deal memo. That is a fact. That is an absolute fact. All right. I don't see the names on these comments, so I apologize for that. I'm trying to see if I can pull it up in our different groups because I'm seeing most of this is coming from the Film Creators Utah group. Here we go. All right, so Doris was asking about the bacon, and of course, yes. Doris, you have all the great questions. Very good questions. Yeah. Now, if you are a producer and you are looking to find people for your production, don't have anybody just dangling on a hook. Once you know you want to hire somebody, send them the deal memo. If you just dangle, and this is just my advice to anybody who's an independent contractor. If somebody is saying, I would love to hire you, and then you don't hear from them for a week or two, your schedule just opened back up. Okay, feel free to look for other jobs. You can always call them, and I suggest you do. Call them and confirm and make sure you have a deal in place, especially if you haven't worked with them before. I mean, I have people that I have worked with before, and I'm okay with just penciling that in, and I know they're going to come through because they'll tell me if it's not. So I feel pretty confident about that relationship. But ultimately, you need to feel comfortable with what's going to happen in this production. A lot of times that means making sure that you have a deal memo in place. Okay. Guys, I think that's about it. I don't see any other questions popping up right now. But if you guys have questions about deal memos, like if you're looking for a sample deal memo, if you go over to studiobinder.com and click under resources, they have a bunch of free resources, including deal memos that you could download. And then I believe you could just plop them into your Google Drive and you can edit them all. So it's really nice to use. But it's a great template to start from. And you just put in your information as a producer and make sure that you can actually fulfill everything that you have in that deal memo. But yeah, studiobinder.com, take a look at that. Can you go to a small claims court with a deal memo? Yes, you can. Absolutely, you can. And it'll actually hold up in court because what you have now is a legally binding agreement between you and the production company. So having that deal memo in hand does protect you. You don't need a lawyer. I think there might be a small court fee, but you could actually push that off to the person who is being sued because they're the ones who breached the agreement or breached the deal memo's contract. A deal memo is a contract. It is a contract between you and the producer. And so if they don't do what they say they're going to do, then yes, you absolutely can. Okay. Should you go to the Film Commission or Labor Commission? No. Here's the reason why. The Film Commission is not a judicial body. They're not. They're part of the Board of Tourism, which means that they have no litigious grounds. They're not going to sue for you. The best they can do is if a production has screwed you over and they're not paying you, they could be informed about that. And if they were getting money from a tax incentive, that money is now withheld until you have been compensated. That is probably the main thing there. The Labor Commission, also no. Taking them to small claims court is your very best bet. I would take them to small claims court. And I believe it ranges up to a couple $1,000s, like over I want to say almost $22,000, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on that. I have never had to take anybody to the court over something like that. I think the highest amount I've had to take someone to court for was like $500. And that definitely falls under the small claims court provisions. But again, I'm not a lawyer, so consult with a lawyer, but you don't need a lawyer for small claims court. So if you're broke because you're a filmmaker, there you go. Okay. And I know that was something that a couple people have experienced, is never getting paid from particular companies, but having a deal memo in hand will protect you from a legal standpoint to make it so that you have some recourse if somebody is not paying you for the work that you did. Okay. One thing to keep in mind, if you sign a deal memo and a production shuts down before the production happens, if you didn't work according to the deal memo, there is no compensation or expectation of compensation. So let's say you get contacted March 1st, and they say, we'd like you to start working on March 15th. But on March 14th, they contact you and let you know that the entire project's been scrubbed and they're not going to do it. You have not worked a single day on the production according to your deal memo, even if you blocked out all that time and turned down other jobs so that you could work on that. Unfortunately, that's just part of being an independent contractor, and there's no recourse to the production company. They didn't have you work yet. It was all conditional upon actually being able to do the production. So if they fold before you do the work, then there really isn't anything you can do. However, if you got hired on the 1st, you started working on the 15th, and on the 17th they shut down, and you put in 2 days of work, you can still take them to small claims court for the 2 days that you did work. And you probably will notice, if you were here earlier in the broadcast, there was a little provision that says you're getting paid for days worked. So that doesn't mean that you're getting paid for potential days, but for days that you actually did the work or were contracted to work. That also works in the production company's favor, saying if you were designated to work on the 15th through the 17th, but you didn't work, you didn't actually do any work on the 15th through the 17th, you actually can't get paid for that. A production company can come back and say, please show me what you did on these 2 days, and then we'll compensate you. If you don't have a way to show what you did, you don't get compensated. Okay, Ricardo asks, what if a crew member actor signed a deal memo and did not show up? Does the production have a way to recoup the resources or money lost because of the production delays caused by such an absence? That is a great question. The answer is it depends. If in your contract, in your deal memo, you were clear and you said, you have to have that stipulation in there, honestly. that says the actor agrees to show up on their production days. And if they do not show up, they will be responsible for damages up to this amount for delays in production. You can definitely put that in there. As an actor, I might be hesitant to sign something like that unless there was provisions in there that excuse the absence. A good example is COVID. If an actor agreed to a contract that said, I have to be there, otherwise I'm going to owe $1 million to the production company if I'm not there, but I get COVID, I know if I have COVID and I show up to set, I am a health risk to myself and to others. And in that case, they should not come to set. But from the production's point of view, there's a delay. So you have both things happening there. So clearly defining what those parameters are pretty important in a deal memo. In my mind, I think that's a burden a production needs to take on and have a backup plan. I think expecting actors to show up when they're sick is not feasible. When there's an emergency, it's not feasible. Let's say that you cast Charla in a movie and you find out that, or Charla finds out that her husband has to go to the hospital. She's not going to be very good to you on set. Her mind's not going to be in the game. She needs to go to the hospital. Yes, that is hard for the production. Well, the production needs to be able to be flexible and adapt. That's what every production coordinator has understood since the beginning of production. So that would be my take on that. As I really wouldn't put that in a deal memo. I really wouldn't. I would just say, look, as long as we treat everybody as though we're people, I think we're good. If you get a vibe as a production company that someone's going to stand you up, or if you heard in the past that this individual has no-showed on a shoot, don't hire them. Just don't hire them. And then have a backup. Have a backup for your cast. So yeah, have rehearsals, have backups. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure that has happened, Charla. I'm absolutely sure that's happened. I think I actually heard about that. So, but yeah, so a production has to be sensitive to the personal needs that are happening for their cast and crew. But they're also thinking from a financial perspective, how do they complete their production on time and on budget, on schedule, because that's their job too. And that actually, in an emergency situation, that doesn't fall on the actor's shoulders, in my opinion. That falls on production. So if there's an emergency and the actor needs to take care of it, then they need to take care of it. In a production that has a problem with people taking care of personal emergencies, says more about the production than it does the actor. That's just my 2 cents on the whole thing. Okay, this went a little longer than I was expecting, but that's good because we got some good questions answered. Now, I want to reiterate, though, if you are interested in learning more about what production companies need to know as an actor or as a crew member, if you work with newer people that need to understand production companies and how they work with actors, I want to invite you guys right now in this broadcast to attend our 2 panels that are happening this Saturday. The first one starts, I'm gonna pop this up over here again. The first one is how to run a production company. That starts at 7 p.m. It's $10. This is at the Town Hub Theater in American Fork. And then the next panel is commercial versus narrative film auditions and acting. The people who are going to be on these panels, I think we're making up a flyer about that today, but these are your decision makers. These are people that you have worked with, you may want to work with, or maybe it's somebody that you heard rumors about that you might want to know about. All that's going to happen at the Utah Film Festival panels this Saturday. And so they start at 7 p.m. and then the next one's at 8:30 p.m. And we also have some local screenings. So, all right, guys, that was fun. Hopefully everyone's getting ready. Everyone's getting excited for all the productions that are coming to Utah. I know of many now that are happening in April. So hold on to your butts, everybody. It's about to get really busy. If you haven't started seeing all the auditions, it's probably because all the above the line people are being selected right now. And then those auditions will be coming out within the next few weeks. So keep your eyes peeled. There's a lot happening. And we'll see you guys on Saturday in American Fork. All right. Take care, guys.